Thank you over to IC Baby. We are moving on together with myself and Sadafa for this game.
A little bit of a switch up on the casters right here, so this should be quite fun. The Yudu Red Giants going to want to prove that they're still world champion worthy, and Smart Omega wanting to take down these giants of the mlbb scene. Another fun little interaction with Vex is the fact that her Eternal Guard can eat the damage from Zask.
Oh, yeah, that does make a very fair point. In fact, whenever I'm looking at a Vexana in play, I would always want to see, you know, that very random Eternal Guard neutral objective steal. I don't know how that works out, but sometimes it may happen. In the meantime, here in the middle lane, Yums and Stormy seems to be wanting to be a little bit more aggressive in the middle lane, but albeit it is all just a little bit of a poke onto Yuki.
So we've already mentioned in the past how when you have heroes like Fanny around, you really want to start snowballing, making pressure in the early game. Especially against something like a Ling who scales better than you once you get into the late game phases. That means that Smart Omega wants to be the one starting fights, especially once you get to those level 4 timings. Yudu Red Giants, though, aren't necessarily too weak in the early game themselves. They have so much crowd control.
Yeah. But do they have enough damage when it comes down to the mid stages of the game for them to really pave the way for the Ling? Or is Ling just okay in the mid stages of the game when it comes down to damage? That is always gonna be my question.
Hold on here. Yeah, this is fine. Yeah, I think Ling will be absolutely fine in the mid game. Early game he's a little bit weaker, but once he's got 1 or 2 items, he actually does hurt quite a lot. That's why you see teams lean away from heroes like Lo Yi, because once Skies gets Hums online, we've already seen what he can do with this hero. He got the moniker of Sky Prince for a reason.
Yeah, the Sky Prince in here. It would be nice to see a Sky Prince versus the Sky Kings eventually.
Ooh.
Oh, maybe we'll be able to see that in the later parts of the challenge finals. You guys gotta have to stay tuned to the entirety of SPS Season 5 to watch that. In the meantime, here we have, immediately we do have got the penalty zone. It's just gonna be dropped right out, followed by the Zaman Force. This one, Omega wants to really create this zone, but it doesn't seem like Chakdu will be able to stay in to survive, as Sekai joins in the fray almost immediately, completely abandoning the turtle, taking themselves 2 kills in the bag.
Beautifully done there, and this is the signature aggression and coordination from the Red Giants that allowed them to become MSC champs. They knew, and they just went exactly for what they wanted, which was Andoryu. Unfortunately, he was very unlucky there, just getting hard focused by multiple members, and this guy's even picking up a kill on Chaknu. On top of that means that Smart Omega has already lost a little bit of that early game window that they want to play for.
This really feels like a game that, at least for the Yudu Red Giants, is really reliant on the mobility of Sekais to jump into the fray, because it's understandable that when it comes down to Innocent as well as Cram, they are mainly executing more as a bruiser of the team.
Yes, well, when you have a Ruby gold lane, they will also build a bit of damage themselves, but you are not... Oh, wow, okay.
Oh, wow, down in the bottom lane, completely out of match. We do have Sekai to join into the fray and manages to bring down Jom and Andoryu. Not what we were expecting, especially since the turtle is up top.
And one of the reasons why we see Red Giants going for Ruby in the gold lane is for this, right? It means that there is no easy weak lane for Andoryu to get kills off of. And that makes this Fanny's life very difficult. Already 0-2-0, 4 minutes in, 4 kills for the Red Giants. Things are going incredibly one-sidedly.
When I talk about global presence, this isn't the kind of global presence that I was expecting and I was mentioning. Yudu regions have very effectively and effortlessly split their forces in the top and the bottom lane. But speaking of the bottom lane, Innocent, what was that? Immediately gets himself right out of the hands of Chaklu and Jom and Andoryu without half HP gone at all.
Yeah, no problems, really nicely timed. And we have to note, while Ruby gold lane is not uncommon, this is probably one of the first times we're seeing Innocent do this. He is always going to be a carry player on heroes like the Rogers, so Red Giants doing this is very interesting.
Oh, in the meantime, I do pretty much expect the Yudu Rangers will want to set up a comeback, or rather a fight, down onto Ryota. Bringing him down almost immediately, but the Dominator's Descent was also used. So quite a bit of ultimate has been used, but at least we still have got the penalty zone as well as the I'm offended for the upcoming few fights.
Control of this game slipping out of the hands of Smart Omega. We can even see Cram down there. just yelling at their opponents in the middle of the game. You can see that the mood in the respective player desks are completely opposite.
5-0 in 5 minutes in the game. That is 1 kill per minute, and Red Giants is completely unfazed. What exactly do Smart Omega gonna have to do since they don't have anyone to easily kill? We'll talk about that in a short little bit, as we do have Smart Omega just gonna be jumping all the way down onto Red Giants, but it's not that easy because we've got Cram going in with the penalty, so they did manage to catch up the 3, but the Minoan's Fury from the side of Chapnu just gonna send everyone flying up. But speaking of flying up, Sekai over at the back is just going to be executing one person. He will definitely want to get a kill on a Yuke here. He manages to with a triple kill to his name, but unfortunately Andoryu comes in, swoop in for the kill, and ends his streak.
Ooh, this is not quite over just yet.
Stormy is gonna be the next one down to the hands of Andoryu, and Ryota even continues on onto Yumes, effectively bringing down 5 people in just one single team fight.
Well, you asked what Omega needed to do to make the comeback, and I think that's a very good first step. Red Giants actually making a bit of a mistake, overstaying in that fight and feeding over a 6-kill streak over to Andoryu. That's a lot of gold bounty that this Fanny desperately needed. And this is going to give Smart Omega a foothold. It looked pretty good for Red Giants at first. They were able to deny Yumes going down, but I do think that they may have overcommitted a bit.
It's just a single team fight. They have tilted the way over to the side of Smart Omega. One team fight, 5 kills plus 1 total. And we've got the gold completely neck and neck. That's definitely tough. In the meantime, what is that read coming from Cram? Ryums joins in as well. They are just going to be getting everything down on the Jom. They use everything that they can. Chapnu was hoping that he will be able to stop all of them before Jom went down, but unfortunately, a tad bit too slow.
Really nice sequencing there as well. Having Cram scout the bush with penalty zone because it's a wider AoE so that Yumes knows where he needs to target so that they can fully lock down the Harif. Jom, despite being a playmaker that Icy Baby previously identified, being focused very hard by Red Giants and not able to farm safely at all.
Essentially a 1 in 3 chance when it comes down to the 3 brushes over at the top. In the meantime, 3-man catch when it comes down to the final slash. Chapnu very briefly sends them up into the air together with the Eternal Guard. Smart Omega, they don't have a lot of outlets to work with at this point in time, not even the Minoan's Fury. So Smart Omega, they gotta have to play within their own box in the middle lane's first tier defense turret.
It was actually a really nice setup to final slash into 3-man stun from the side of Omega, but because they're not even actually that behind, I'm surprised that didn't do much damage to Red Giants because they're not actually building very defensively. Even Innocent is going War Axe Hunter Strike, and Cram has War Axe himself. So I would have actually thought that that would do a bit more.
I think it really boils down to the raw stats coming in from these fighters itself. That just shows how much hybrid defense they have got just from leveling up. You cannot look down on those.
But it also means that the Red Giants can't really afford to look down on Smart Omega too much because these positions are starting to be punished a bit. Ryota has been doing a good job of finding pickoffs with that final slash. They just gotta buy a little bit more time for their cores to actually have the DPS necessary to follow up on it.
But what is really gonna be Red Giants' big break though? Do they really want to go over to the late stages of the game? Can they win Smart Omega in that case?
100%. Like Ling is just one of the ultimate late game assassins you can have. A bit the mobility that he offers, he's able to scout the map, he's able to split push, he's able to join fights, take objectives easily, jump in, jump out, and it's like,
there we go, down onto the purple buff. It does seem like Yumes really want to ensure that Andoryu don't take the purple buff for himself, but unfortunately Sekai is the one that is going to be on the receiving end instead. Not only they didn't manage to stop Sekai from getting the purple buff, they killed him down with Cram joining into the coffin as well.
It was an interesting choice as well from the Red Giants because it seemed like Skies was looking to steal the purple buff while Innocent and Stormy were taking the Lord on their own.
And now Stormy doesn't really have a lot of HP to work with. The Synchro Fission from Jom did manage to tag him a tad bit, but not quite enough to bring him down.
We are reaching the point of the game where Smart Omega is actually quite even with the Red Giants in terms of scaling. There's only about a 400 gold difference, which is not too much. And at this stage as well, we can see that Jom has managed to catch up in terms of DPS. The Red Giants have to be somewhat careful. They split their forces in two to try and maximize efficiency across the map, but because of that, they had to deal with a numbers disadvantage. so Skies couldn't actually survive that last fight.
With a great amount of damage from the side of Smart Omega when it comes down to pokes, you can pretty much tell that Cram is having a tad bit of issue. In the meantime, Yum to Tyrant's Revenge, Tyrant's Rage, letting down the Joel, completely locking him down and brings him down first. Ryota gonna be the next one onto the chopping block when it comes down to the penalty zone. Locking 2% down is a 1-for-2 trade.
This is always one of the scariest parts of dealing with the Yudu Red Giants. Even when it seems even when they've made mistakes, even when any other team should be slowing down to recount and revisit their approach, Red Giants just keeps going. And Yums was able to find Jome out of everyone in that fight. Even, like, the Purify wasn't even used. He just went down so quickly.
I'm not too sure whether that was just reservation from the side of Joma or he didn't really quite think about the Purify. Perhaps he's under the safety net of the turret. He thought that he could stay alive a little bit longer.
Not too sure. Or maybe it had just come off cooldown. It's a bit hard to say for sure. But that will allow Red Giants to once again control the map. And this is honestly really difficult to deal with because Smart Omega for a moment thought that they finally had the chance to breathe, and then Red Giants just steals it from them again.
It really felt as though they managed to kind of chip a little bit onto this impenetrable Giants, but Smart Omega is still racking their brains to really understand what exactly is keeping this Giant standing up tall and mighty like that. Is it really gonna have to deal with the front lines of the bruisers, or do they really just have to elongate the team fight altogether? Can they really press ultimate all at the same time?
Smart Omega needs to position themselves in a way where they're able to take advantage of Red Giants over aggression, because they know that YRG are going to be jumping at them a lot of the time.
Alright, and as for now, middle lane, Stormy doesn't seem like he's having a very good time, as we do have the final slash that did manage to pull Stormy right out of the brush and take him down almost immediately. Yudu Red Giants understands that this is not exactly the fight that they will want to take, but Cram returns it with the penalty zone. Zekai jumped over to the back line, he will want to take it down to the Chaknu and brings him down almost immediately because of the ticking time bomb off the side of Cram. The fight continues and ensues. Cram is still going to be in the fight against Ryota with a quick little flicker. He hopes to be able to enlarge the gap a little bit more. He drags 2% down with him, while Sekai is just going to be back in his own jungle dealing with the purple buff, at least allowing him to still be quite a unit for this upcoming Lost fight.
We're just seeing absolute chaos here. Skies even sidestepping the final slash.
He did manage to bait out the Zaman Force though, and the final slash did not really work out on the Sekais. So that is a very beautiful 1v1 battle that Sekais immediately won.
As Smart Omega, they played that well, honestly. They forced out the ultimate from Stormy and then realized he was a little out of position, so they got rid of him straight away and then forced Red Giants to take a fight where they were 4v5. And even despite all of that, Sky is still doing God's work.
It's a very good stagger from the side of Yudu Red Giants, allowing Sekais to bring down the Lord all by himself. And now they gotta have to pull themselves back a little bit. Well, in the meantime, top lane, they are looking at a mega wave crashing down onto the inhibitor turret. A very rookie mistake from the side of Smart Omega while they're trying to challenge for the Lord.
A really good macro again. So Red Giants setting up the slow push on the top side of the map while they're contesting the Lord on the bottom side of the map. And all of this right after they basically lost the fight in the mid lane.
Cram now in the face of Endoryu. It doesn't seem like Endoryu will be able to do much over to the Cram, so it would take a very big 5v5 fight for them to be able to do remotely anything. With the Lord rating crashing down and pillaging whatever that they own, Sekais is down in the bottom lane. He pops to the Tempest of Blade just so that he will be able to iframe out from that final hit from the turret. It allowed him to stay alive for a tad little bit longer for that 1-for-1 jungle trade. All in all, Smart Omega, they didn't really manage to get much out of the Lord itself, but at least 50% of the turrets in the middle lane and the bottom lane in Hib has went down.
And Doryu being able to force Skies into a 1-for-1 trade is actually very worth it for Smart Omega, because that Ling is going to make a big difference in this base push, and sacrificing his life basically allowed Smart Omega to make sure they didn't lose any additional towers. Because we have to note, Ling does a lot of damage, but the similar issue to Marksman is that he is very squishy. If he doesn't survive long enough to do it, then a lot of his pressure just gets negated.
Eventually, Smart Omega would want to reclaim their control in their own jungle. As you can see, Chaknu attempting that at all times. whenever they have the chance. Especially since Endorio is so self-sufficient, is so reliant onto the purple buff. They will want to grab that as much as possible. But Yudo Red Giants, as expected, with a 4-man Bruiser comp, they would want to ensure that they would push Smart Omega all the way back home where they feel the safest.
You could even see Skies coming in from the left, specifically jumping down just to poke Endorio once, so that the Fanny knew it wasn't safe for him to try and drive by the purple buff. There is a fear being implanted in the minds of Smart Omega right now. And even though the Yudo Red Giants honestly don't have that much of a goal lead over their opponents, the difference in pressure is night and day.
You can pretty much expect that Yudo Red Giants, whenever they are posturing up for something, you can pretty much expect that the set guys is encroaching. But for now, Zaman Force, as well as the Minoan Fury, a lot of people just gonna be flying up right into the sky. Chaknu continues on with the extended long crowd control, but the main thing is Endorio spinning while he's winning. But Sekai, on the other hand, he's doing the God's work, getting himself the Maniac, as we all bore witness. Yudo Red Giants getting themselves a 4-man kill for the Maniac on Sekai, full team wipe and a core destroy.